Well, millions of kids around the nation heading back to school this week, but not in Seattle, Washington. Teachers there walking the picket lines, protesting for higher wages. And in Chicago, they're closing schools, and the ones opening are still facing a big cash crunch. Emac, you say this is why we have to convert all public schools into union-free charter schools,
yeah,
right?
It's time for change. In fact, there are 55,000 students in Illinois who are in charter schools. Full disclosure, my beloved goddaughter, my niece, Regina Joan, is the vice principal of a charter school, Success Academy in Harlem. And, you know, minority families want charter schools. In Harlem, the Bronx, and then in the most desperate neighborhoods in Illinois, they want them. Across the board, test scores have gone up. And by the way, these are not private schools. These are public schools that are funded by nonprofits.
Well, Bruce, test scores have gone up in the charter schools, but the cost of paying specifically for union pensions in places like Chicago is just going through the roof. We have a figure, by the way, that Chicago school spending has gone up 37% over the past 10 years. That's a big rise. But look at the increase of Chicago pensions. It's gone up 1,614% in the past 10 years.
Yeah, it's true. There are a lot of problems here in Chicago, and as I always tell my family from outside of the area, you don't have enough liquor in your liquor cabinet or time on your hands for me to tell you how screwed up it is. But it's not just the union issue. We have had 4 or 5 superintendents here in the last 10 years, and the most recent superintendent was kicking millions of dollars to a principal education program. So, and part of the problem here is Mayor Daley, before that, should have closed 2 schools a year for 20 years rather than forcing the mayor to close. It's a mess.
Rich, it's the union benefits specifically that are costing these school systems more than their annual budgets by a lot.
Yes, and may I point out, this was Bruce's second reference to alcohol on today's show, so I'm really impressed.
By the way, let me just point out, it's because today is Bruce's birthday, folks, so happy birthday, Bruce. So he's allowed to talk about alcohol. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, it's not just pension costs, it's how do you get rid of the incompetent teachers, and those, you know, what I'm really encouraged is that there are more and more success examples of charter schools, the most recent being the extraordinary comeback of New Orleans schools.
Right. Steve?
Well, and you also have a great experiment underway in Nevada. If they don't, unions don't kill it there, they have educational savings accounts. Every parent, $5,000 or more, they can choose which school their kid goes to, no matter what, or even pick specific courses outside the school to help their kids. That's the way to go. Free markets work in education.
Now, we should mention, by the way, they do work, but charter school teachers get paid less. However, they have a lot more freedom, Mike. And as a former teacher in Chicago, Bruce, listen up, I got to tell you, sometimes the freedom is worth more than the increase in pay.
David, competition is how you make every industry more efficient, whether it be schools, clothing, or food. It doesn't matter. And, you know, the hypocrisy here is that many of these public schools that don't want competition from charter schools are the same places where you have to compete to make the basketball team or the soccer team or whatever.
Sabrina, a lot of people forget that competition is important, not just in business, but in places like schools as well.
Oh, absolutely, David. Look, I am solidly in the camp for educational freedom. I do have, and there are some wonderful charter schools out there. Absolutely. I've visited with a number of them. I do have one sort of concern over charter schools, and that is that it's only reforming public sector education, as Emac sort of referenced. These are public schools. And one of the drawbacks is they actually a lot of times pull students from private schools. It's sort of ultimately there's less competition, less diversity of educational options. So we have to consider these different ways of solving the educational freedom problem.
One more happy birthday to Bruce. Thank you for coming all. Happy birthday, Bruce. And coming up, these crazy markets are not scaring away our informers. In fact, the names they like so much, they're actually buying them with their own money.